and I just wanted to thank you for coming today. So, Accountant Best Practice in QBO. My name's Woody Adams, longtime product specialist with Intuit. Started with Intuit as 2004, and mostly in the QuickBooks Desktop and QBO realm. So I kind of grew up on desktop and then started using QuickBooks Online in 2009. So pretty adept at both platforms and the differences therein, etc. Also, since 2010, I've been doing this either Radio Free QuickBooks or the QBO show with a couple friends of mine, Advanced Certified Pro Advisors, Stacy Kildall, and then there was Don Brolin in there for a while. So in the deck, there's also a QB Matrix link that compares all our products across like 140 different feature sets. Use that. It's a free resource, and it's just on the screen. And then you can find out more about about the QBO show at radiofreeqb.com. We have a show tomorrow afternoon, I think. It's 2 to 3 Pacific time. So what we're going to cover today, the platform alignment, just got a few slides around numbers, and why there's this urgency around QuickBooks Online, although your firm might be supporting both platforms, desktop and QBO for a while, and that's great. I don't really have a dog in the fight. I just want to make sure we're aligned on, why QuickBooks Online Accountant, why is that helpful for the firm? How do you invite your staff as team members? How do you manage the QBO clients? We'll go over the work module to track projects and file share and things like that. And then, how you can restrict staff. So we'll spend some time in QBOA, at least 20 minutes, and then we'll dive into a client file and go over some navigation and browser productivity tips, like open windows or how you get multiple tabs open, top icon bar, things like that. And then some key accountant tools and reporting, customization, and then I always like to end with bank feeds and rules, because how do you get the data in? So this is what we're covering today. If we have a little time, I might be able to show some of the mobile app at the end for those who want to stick around, because your clients have a credit card and they have a smartphone. So the mobile app of QBO is a great way to create transactions and have them match to the bank feed, and how are we getting the data in to get to reports. So we'll spend a little time at the end there. There's other automation in QBO. So I will show you a website to go. There's tons of other video content. But anyway, 78% of small businesses, and it's probably more like 80 plus, will move online by 2020. Of those businesses that use accounting software, of course, you probably have tons of clients that aren't using any accounting software, but those that are, 78% of those are moving online by 2020. And as of quarter 4, fiscal year 17, so data within a couple, 3 months, right? But what I could share, we have nigh 2.4 million subscribers to QuickBooks Online, mostly in the U.S., right? So obviously our biggest market is United States, but we do have, we've surpassed 100,000 QBO subscribers in Canada, UK, and Australia as well. And we have QuickBooks Online Accountant in all 3 of those markets as well. So you can be international and certainly national. And the small business ecosystem grew revenue by 33%. We have a self-employed product that I won't be covering today, though you can manage that in your QuickBooks Online Accountant. That's for your Schedule C clients that really don't need any transactions. Just like 3 reports, but it's mostly just a bank feed, but they're using it on their phone and stuff. It tracks mileage and estimates tax payments. That's QuickBooks Self-Employed, and that's growing a lot. We're at almost 400,000 subs of that alone, and you can still manage them. They can still invite the accountant. You can have them in your QBOA. I have one as well. We just won't have the time to look at that, but there's a lot of free training out there by Intuit, and now and again they do a self-employed deep dive. So really, you're supporting self-employed, but really it's QuickBooks Online, Simple Start, Essentials, and Plus. Most are going to be Essentials and Plus, because Simple Start's just one user, doesn't have any AP, and Simple Start QBO doesn't have, like a general ledger, trial balance, report. So, I mean, you're going to need those things from an accounting perspective. So most of your clients, as I'm sure you would confirm in the chat room if you want, they're either on Essentials or mostly Plus, particularly if they've converted from desktop. Right? So that's going to be most of your clients. But remember that self-employed. Instead of a shoebox, if they don't need transactions, they can sign up for self-employed. It's like $5 a month. And then, invite you. Okay. Why the cloud? Just real quick. A lot of this is real obvious, but improve collaboration, but not just with you and your client. So no data transfer, accountant's copy, backup portable, sending back and forth. I don't need to wonder what year of QuickBooks Desktop Pro my client's using because they're in QBO. I can just log into the books, and though they don't see my mouse move because it's not like remoting in, but they'll see the changes I make, right? So that's the benefit, obvious one, I think, but also improve collaboration within the team. And we'll be looking at that within the work module as well as just inviting a team member next. And of course, as long as you have a high-speed internet connection, you can access. And I should get to the phone app, but on the iPad, you can even log in natively to Chrome or something. Go to QBO.intuit.com. Obviously, laptop, desktop, wherever you are, right? You're connecting to the data. And yeah, I mean, those are the key things, I think, is why you'd want to be on the cloud. So, like, if you're using desktop and you have Pro Premier clients, and for a while you've been purchasing QuickBooks Accountant Edition for the firm, right? So thematically, it's similar. We created a QuickBooks Online Accountant. So you have some tools, and it's free for the firm, unless you're paying for the client subscription. That would be the main difference, I think, other than some feature sets between desktop and QBO, certainly, some feature set differences around inventory and job costing, but the main difference is that in desktop, you're buying the program, and it doesn't matter how many files you have. QBO, it's a subscription per entity, right? Subscription per company. And so, but you're still managing it with this accountant perspective, this portal, if you will, QBOA. So someone's paying for QBO, and if the client is in the firm, there's no cost for team members, certification, or anything, but we do have a wholesale program that I will mention. But QBOA, we're going to start there. Managing clients, inviting staff, assigning permissions, the Pro Advisor training, let's go over that real quick, wholesale billing, the work, and then I want to look at audit log and staff visibility now in the audit log report, and then we'll come back and do navigation. I'll probably do both at one time, okay? So hopefully you're seeing my screen. If you're not, let me know, and feel free to ask questions in the questions box. Happy to answer. I am using Google Chrome, and I'm going to start with my QBOA. It has 47 active clients in it. Not all my staff see all these clients because I can restrict them, but this is where we're all logging into the same firm books file, Clean Books LLC. Should be somewhat humorous for you, but that's the firm name, and I'm the one who started it. Some firms will use a generic email to start the QBOA. QBOA is totally free unless you're paying for the client subscription, okay? Before we even get to the dashboard, I think the key part for me is the team collaboration. So over here I have Clients Team, Pro Advisor. I am in Google Chrome, and I'll explain why I like that the best, although Firefox is great too. And if you have to use Internet Explorer, IE 11. So I go into Team. This is where I'm inviting my staff. So each person in the firm doesn't need to have their own QBOA, either to get Pro Advisor certified or manage the clients. Like, we have 47 clients. And all this staff I've hired. Now, obviously, you wouldn't have this many staff for 47 clients, right? So just humor me a little bit, bear with me a bit. But as an example, I've invited Ray, and it's super easy to just add a user. This would be a team member. This would not be for the client. You're not inviting the client here, right? This is just for staff. So you'd come in here, and I can do a first name, last name, email. That's what it is, because we're all accessing QBO.intuit.com, even your clients, but by an email address or user ID, so unique, right? I don't have to share one across the firm to get into QBOA or get into clients. And you should not be accessing your QBO client files as them, right? Come in through QBOA, and I'll be proving that with some accountant tools I'll show you. But anyway, I invited Ray, and administratively I have her doing nothing, like not adding any more subscription, not accessing the free QBO Plus file I use for the firm, right, that I do payroll out of, right? So I don't have any of my staff accessing that. And then the clients, she can't add any clients either. However, in client access, I can check off the clients that I want her to see when she logs into the same QBOA, right? She's not going to have access to all 47. Right? I think I gave her access to 15 or 20, just for whatever reason. The point is, I can restrict my staff from the clients they see, and then administratively what they do. Now, there's not a lot of fundamental administration you're doing in QBOA. You're either adding clients, adding users, managing the wholesale bill, if you're doing wholesale billing, and the clients. So, you choose. You could have tax people coming in for just 4 months of the year and keep them super basic under administration and books, right? So, whereas some of the other staff, I do have full users, right? So, what I'm seeing here, for me, I have Clients Team, Pro Advisor, Work and Apps. I have the Your Books file. I can add a client. I mean, I'm the master admin, but also full team members could do this as well. However, in Firefox, I have Ray. And if we bring up her window here and shrink it so you can compare it in your mind visually, she would just see clients, and she has 10 of the 47. Pro Advisor, because we want to encourage her to get certified. work, that's the be able to create projects and share them or assign them to staff and track due dates and status. We'll look at that in file share. And then she has no ability to add a client. But she can access these clients. And any client she has access to, and I'll have her go into client collaboration for later on, she's like a company admin in that file. So I can't restrict her what she can do within the client file, but I can restrict her from within QBOA. Right? So that's important to know. You can, set what your staff can do administratively and then what clients there. Now, there's a quick question. When adding a user to their company file, QBO does not have a detailed permissions as desktop. Correct. This creates separation of duties. Correct. So we are working on that. The main one, and thanks for that question, Teresa, is if I need someone to do bank feeds and see registers. Now, I'm not talking about QBOA because QBOA team members are like company admins, right? Full access within the client file. But I'm talking about manage users inside of QuickBooks Online. And let me quickly go there. I'm in a client file here for reasons I'll show later. But under the gear icon, right, your operational settings will go to manage users. And though the firm, you only need one person in this bottom section because everybody else is coming in through QBOA, right? So this is just me down here, and we network with another firm. But typically, you only need one in this accounting firm section, right? And then everybody else is coming in through QBOA. So they don't all have to be there. But up here is what she means. Let's say I needed someone to do bank feeds and registers, but not see payroll. That's the big gap right now, or company financial statements. That's not possible when you're setting up permissions within desktop. So that's the big one. They have to be an all-user. If they're just customer and vendor, right, that's great for some stuff, but if I needed them to do register work or see a P&L but not see payroll, that's the thing that we're going to be solving for. So, yeah, it's on the roadmap. I'm really hoping it's sooner than later for sure, but thanks for that question. Yep. Okay. So, team, clients, we have a dashboard. I can drill into the client without going into their file just to see some information on bookkeeping. Shared documents we'll talk about, and anything blue will drive me into the file, as you probably know. Or I can click the drop-down, right? Or I can do it from the little QB icon in the status column. Unaccepted transactions, we're going to look at that at the end. That's what? That's the bank feed, right? Stuff from the checking or credit card feed that has yet to be added from the For Review tab into the register. So you're accepting the transactions in. That's why we have that language, but I like to point it out. And I typically look at stuff like 100 or more than I want to work that file, but everybody's different. Right? Anyway, so you can move the columns around, not really move them, but choose what you want to see. If you don't do much with tax, turn that on. Turn that off. If you've made some clients inactive because they're seasonal or no longer clients of you, make them inactive. If you want to bring them back, include inactive, right? So you do have this little baby gear and main gear, and that's thematic to QBO too. We'll be looking at that real quick when we get over there. Look for the little baby gear icon and lists and reports and stuff like that. In the YourBooks file, I just like to mention before we go into work and touch on ProAdvisor real quick, wholesale billing, then we'll dive into navigation. All right, so just give me like 6 or 7 more minutes in QBOA, and then we'll get into where I want to be and more the meat and potatoes of it in the client file. But this YourBooks file, we give you a free file. Do not use it as a practice playground or sandbox. We give you that under the gear icon. There's a sample company for lunch and learns, right? So like a Craig's Landscaping and Design. It's a plus file. It resets itself every time. But the reason why I'm pretty particular on this YourBooks file is because when you go to sales and customers, this list is a mirror image of your practice clients. So if you were to, convert Rockcastle Construction, right, into the YourBooks file, it's going to add like Christy Abercrombie and all her friends to your clients list, right? So you got to make them inactive. So I just like to qualify that. Use YourBooks when you're really ready to use it as your firm file. Okay. Now I'm going to go into ProAdvisor real quick. I do see a question. Is this session recording for later viewing? It is. Thanks for that, Richard. By the way, thanks, because I probably won't remember. I'm putting this website, this QuickBooksProductVideos.homestead.com. Don't write it down. It's going to be in the chat area. Go to webinar. Just bookmark it. Tons of great, it's our product specialist site, a lot of QBO and desktop-related videos, but it also has some stuff for clients and other things on the home page. Not the prettiest looking site in the world, but who really cares, right? It's very functional and utilitarian, and that's what I like about it. Now, a key thing on that is that in the QBO, QBOA section, I do have an accountant best practice and automation. It's an hour from like December or January. It's still the same content, and we don't know yet if I did a better job today on this or back in December. So we'll wait to the end. But my point is you could share that one, and that's fine. But I will do an updated one, and just check with your account manager, because I usually send this out of who attended, as well as a YouTube video of the current session to them. And if you email whoever invited you here today, and thank you for coming. I haven't already said that. I'll probably say that at the end too. They'll send you the link, and feel free to share it with anybody in the firm. But we already have this, as well as many other video content on our site, right? And that's in the chat area. Okay. And those resources should be in the handout you can download. That PowerPoint slide that I'm kind of using as well, that's in the handout section. All right, ProAdvisor. No matter how restricted you are as a team member, in the ProAdvisor section, right? We want everybody to get certified in the firm, and it's free. It doesn't cost anything to have team members. It doesn't cost anything to have an extra ProAdvisor or use QBO. The only cost is the QBO subscription, which either you or your client's paying for, and then any third-party apps, right? So if your clients are paying for everything on a direct bill, then you guys aren't paying for anything, no matter how many team members you have, and they can all come in and take the certification for online and see, other training options for their clients, even for desktop and stuff, and then other resources. And you can connect your desktop ProAdvisor account, because, and I have this in another QBO, I connected my ProAdvisor so that when I downloaded my QuickBooks Accountant Edition 18 and Enterprise Accountant 18 from QBO. Like, I don't go to some external ProAdvisor website. Right? And you can do up your profile so that for the firm you have a bunch of people that support QBO in your area when small businesses are looking for help on our Finder ProAdvisor site. So I just mentioned ProAdvisor. I think it's an important part, but here would be where the certification would be. Right? Now, work. Also important, you can track projects and do file share with your client. This is task management and file share. And I can track like due date, who has it, status, this is in progress, etc. Or you might move it out to a different day. Maybe it's now due the 27th, etc. And you can create projects real easy. Now, if you already have an engagement tracking software, this is not meant to replace it, but it's nice having it within QBO. And if you're using like Excel or Google Sheets, then this is probably on par with what you're doing. I can click Create Project, and I can say, this is going to be monthly bank feed and rec and reporting, and choose the client that I want that I'm going to be doing it for, choose the date that it's going to be due, or maybe it's, November 3rd, and I can make it repetitive. So you can set this up for recurring. And then, monthly on the 3rd, it's not going to end, or it will end. We'll just do it through this particular date, and it gives me the next 3, and I can assign it to somebody else in the firm, like Ray, if I had wanted to. Or, but she needs access to that client, so actually I'll go ahead and assign it to Kim instead. And you can add subtasks and assign it to different people with different status as well. And this is repetitive now. I click Save. So you have the ability to create projects and tasks there. Question, when you go over work, can you address that you can only add projects tasks to the accountant level, not in the client book? Right. The client interaction is the actual request for file share. The project, the clients can do projects too now. You'll see that. Like when I go back in the client file, you can turn on projects. It's a setting now under advanced. So they can track their own projects and stuff. You won't see it unless you go in the file, but I can track a project in a client now. This is kind of our first foray into more project tracking, right? We've always had in Plus the light job costing, a pass-through time, material expense, and profitability by customer or sub-customer or whatever. But now we have this projects thing that you can turn on in the advanced settings. So kind of agree with you, but not really. You can track projects in the client file now, though it's new. So, and you'll see that in most of your client files when you go to Gear Icon, Accountant Settings, Advanced, turn on Project Tracking. But you're right, this the client won't see, and I don't really even want him to see this for me. However, what I do want to see, and you can look at this in a card view or a list view, right? And track by status or custom date range is also helpful. What's been canceled, what's been blocked, to do, all types, whether it's project, task, or request. And I can look over certain people, maybe just me, and I want to see, what's been done or all statuses, or just look at what's been canceled. or something like that. So there's the list view, I think, is easier to see scrolling down, particularly as projects build out. But in the card view, I don't have a lot done to me. Interesting. So easy day. But the card view, right, you can make changes here. Now, this is another important thing. If I go back in the client file, there's this My Accountant tab. You've probably seen it right under Accounting. If you already have a portal, then you wouldn't use this. But I find the file share here to be really, and I'll get to that, Jonathan. Thanks for the question. Let me keep on with my flow here. So the file share, if you initiate it, this is where you would see it. The client would see it. So the other thing is the file share. Create client requests. Need this particular form. You choose a client and the due date, and then a status as well, and then details, and then you can add a document, if they don't know what it would be. Like you might say, Woody, I need this form, and here's what it looks like, etc. And it notifies the client. They'll get an email to go into QBO and go to the My Accountant tab. Right? They can't initiate this, but they can respond to you and then upload the document. But you start with the client request. We used to have this with Box.com, if you remember from QBO way back in the day, and now it's just going to be, we closed that, and now we have our own portal sharing, if you will, functionality from QBOA to QBO. So if we go back into the client books here, in the My Accountant tab, here's the doc they needed, and I uploaded it already, and I can ask my accountant questions from here, from the client perspective, and it posts it inside of QBOA. Right. So it's just a request feature to upload a document, which might be super helpful if you don't already have a portal, and it's really easy for them to upload it. And then where it would be is, though you'll see it, if I look at just requests, I'll see it here if they've uploaded it or not. But where we store the docs, even though they're on Intuit servers, see here, there's not a huge alert though. It's important to know. It's like this little message icon. I got 2 messages from this client for this and 1 attachment, right? So I can drill into it and see the attachment. So that's the same one from that client file. I'm just showing you something in the past, but should give you a good idea. But where is it stored? Where would you access it other than there? So when you go to Clients and I drill in on this Client Collaboration LLC, I have the Shared Documents tab. And this is where I can look at the documents and download them and things like that. Right, so we have the Shared Documents tab here, and that's where it kind of integrates coming from the client file. So we're really talking QBO to QBOA, and we're sharing QBO to QBOA using the Work tab. But that's what it is. Task management, I can do repetitive tasks. I can duplicate it and add it to another client. I can't yet publish it out to like 100 clients, the same gig. I'm looking forward to that one. We don't integrate with Outlook yet, or Gmail or something like that. And I think that's also something we'll be looking at. And then I can do file share. Right. But not really the time tracking. That's if you're using the yearbooks file, they have that. Now, real quick, and then I'll get to Jonathan's questions, then we're going to look at wholesale billing and then dive into a client file. There is a host of third-party apps that expand the functionality of QBO, right? Not for all your clients, but some that they just, instead of Premier Manufacturing Wholesale or Enterprise with, the AI turned on or advanced inventory, and they just want to be mobile and don't want to pay hosting fees or what have you, they could do QBO Plus with an app or two that would give them that same functionality. And for the longest time, your client would set up the app and invite you, right? You were not creating the app for them because it would add it to the yearbooks file, right? So, but now you can, and this is the master admin of QBOA, just so you know, right? Just give me 30 seconds to mention it, just so you're aware of it. But in the client, there's a client app section, and I can literally add an app for a client and then invite them as a user to the app, right? And then I'm kind of controlling the connection with the QBO file, et cetera, because the feedback was that the firms wanted to kind of control the app connection and setup. Now, it doesn't mean the client can't do it and invite you. It's just either they're going to do that or you're going to do it, and you guys would decide. So that's why you'll see apps as a new module within the Your Practice section in the left-hand panel. Only the master admin can add apps for clients, and I mean the master admin of the QBOA. And you would just click, add an app, and it brings you to where you can browse a category, and then you can connect the app, and then each app has its own settings and inviting other users. Right. So, not to mention you can see what apps a client already has. So, a little more visibility and actually being able to connect. Okay, lastly, and then we'll dive into a client file. Oh, wait a minute, 1 second. When I'm developing my task list for my team members, I have to go back to the accountant level, not worried about the client. Oh, sorry about that. I misread. Yeah, not worried about the client. You have to go back to the accountant level when you're, go back to the account level. So when you're in work, I'm still probably not understanding that. And I have, like, projects that are assigned, and you're developing your task list. Oh, right, yes, correct. Yeah, you're back in QBOA in the Work tab doing that. So, well, again, this send feedback, please send that up. I know this team, we're investing a lot in QBOA, and the work thing is one of the big things, right? So please send the feedback up for that, absolutely. Now, adding a client, you're probably already well-versed in that. Just wanted to make sure you know. This is where the wholesale billing is. It's going to default to that, but that's just one billing option. But as firms are more and more into the QBO, they're rolling the QBO fee into the monthly service fee that you do for your client. And so, that's the most affordable way to get QuickBooks Online. I don't know how else to say it. I mean, I know we have the 5 for 5 promo, and there's a multi-company discount thing now that you can contact your account manager on if you have a client that has multiple entities. But the wholesale versus direct bill, the direct bill is going to be anywhere from 30 to 50% off, but only for the first year. And the retail plus is 50, essentials is 35, right? And no, you can't add Simple Start here. Again, you guys aren't going to want Simple Start. It's missing those key accountant reports. But because it has one user, that's why, pretty much, although self-employed does too. But self-employed, again, if you have any Schedule C clients, you could put under wholesale. But it's really just 50% off whatever the retail is now. And then same with payroll. You can add payroll as well. If it's plus, then I can add payroll too, and it's also 50% off. Right? Now, one thing to mention, you don't have to be the master admin, ever, even if you're paying for it. The client can be the master admin. It also takes a seat away from them in the manage user list. So, when you're under wholesale, the client, and let me show you what I mean here. If I go to Gear Icon Account and Settings, we've seen the Billing and Subscription tab, right? We remove this when it's under wholesale, even the master admin that is my client, let's say I'm your client, I'm the master admin of this file, I would not see billing and subscription. And if I wanted to add payroll, upgrade or downgrade, you would have to do it for me, from the Your Account page in QBOA. So you don't really need to be the master admin of a file unless you want to be the master admin of a file, and that's totally up to you. But I never am, and I'm never worried about the client seeing anything they shouldn't. And here's where you'd add the team members. So you're adding subscriptions. Of course, you are going to have that client that comes to you that's new already with a QBO, so they'll just invite you as the accounting firm, and you'll add it to QBOA that way. That's how I got a lot of my clients. Or I created, a QBO sub for them. But I just want to make sure we're aligned there about the master admin. The last thing to mention, and I'm going to dive into cloud collaboration. Again, when you hover over the status column, it tells me the level of QBO and who was last to sign in and things like that. And I see that Ray signed in today. But when I click on it, it brings you right into the file. And we'll go over that. Now, I wanted to mention something for firm visibility. And we'll get to it when we get to reports, but there's something even, I think, great from an audit log level, that when the client goes to the audit log, they'll see the firm name, firm name and came in. So not a particular person, because they might not know everybody in the firm. So I like this part of it, They see the firm, they know the firm, so the firm's doing a bunch of stuff in the file. I would say argue most of the work for them. And then when Ray is in here, right, when she goes to the audit log, or another team member, staff member, or you, if you're coming in through QBOA, you actually see the name of staff. Of course you'll see the client name, but I'll see the name of the staff coming in, and I can even filter for particular staff members, right? So I can look at, look for Leah here. I think she's one of my staff members. Yeah, and just see what she's up to. Right. She's been logging in, but hasn't been doing much. So I might want to ask her about that. What is she really looking at? So from the firm perspective, I can see within each client, I hope one day we move it to the QBOA level for that kind of visibility of audit log without having to go into the client file. It kind of goes back to Jonathan's point with work, but it's similar to me. I'm hoping for that. Visibility at the QBOA level without going to the QBO file. But for now, you're going into the client file, but I can at least see what Sean or Leah or Valerie did or Ray did, but the client just sees the name of the firm. There's that visibility that I think is really helpful for the firm. Okay, so navigation, we don't need to go back to the slide. There's some best practices, and I do like Chrome for a couple things. We'll talk about the accountant toolbox, a couple tips there, navigation, best practice, reporting, and then we'll end with bank feeds and hopefully the mobile app. 28 minutes, but I think I can do it. Hopefully it's a good pace for you all. Any questions? Thanks to you who've been asking. Feel free to keep going. Progress billing, yes, thank you for that question. Will there be progress billing added to QBO for clients from Teresa? That is definitely on the roadmap. We are working on it. I cannot give you an ETA, but as a larger discussion, QBO Plus, outside of some reporting stuff, is really 2 features away from Pro, from literally matching Pro, and that would be progress billing. And then, because we already have partial purchase order receiving, that was new soon, that's in there, and price levels. So those are great for product-based businesses or your contractors or whatever that don't need heavy estimate tax or reporting or things like that. There's plenty of third parties or a workaround, but yeah, progress invoicing certainly coming. I just don't know an exact day, but thanks for that. But absolutely, I can be confident with that. So, Chrome, why? In the upper right of your Chrome, and I use Chrome for everything. Remember this website I showed you, right? I use it for I have bookmarks to all this stuff, all work-related things, KB articles, the product video site that I shared with you, Facebook, etc. And QBO, and it has this, and John's asked, can you do finance charges in QBO? Not yet. But chargeover, and I'll put that as a question to as an answer, and we just did a demo with them a couple weeks ago. Chargeover is a great third-party app that solves that. Okay. So there's a rectangle at the top right of Chrome, right? It probably says people or person 1 for you or something like that. You might use Chrome for everything. This is where you can go to manage people and create another Chrome user or 2. That's helpful because I can use the same login to get into QBOA and go into multiple files using Chrome with multiple users. But it also gives me a blank bookmarks bar. And I also just like to isolate my QBO work. I do most of my presentations using this one or this one, away from my daily non-QBO stuff that I might clear my cache more, right? Or actually, I might clear cache more in the QBO, the Chrome users I use for QBO, because I think Chrome, that's the only knock on it, is it builds cache quickly, and it's good to clear it just for better performance of any web-based software you're in. Whereas I might not want to clear the cache in this non-QBO because I got some saved pins, passwords, stuff like that. So you can create Chrome people, and it just gives you this blank bookmarks bar so that no matter what file I'm in, I click on whatever, and it's going to bring me to, that particular thing, like chart of accounts, right? No matter what file I'm in chart of accounts, and I can go to reconcile, or if I'm doing a lot of journal entries, I click on journal entry, and it'll bring me to journal entry. You're building this top icon bar. And all you're doing is going to the transaction or list element that you lean on every day, and you can set this up for clients too. If you're remoting in or use join.me or whatever, that's a free way to do meetings with your clients, by the way, join.me. But you're just bookmarking it and adding it to the bookmarks bar, and I'm creating a quote-unquote top icon bar that's akin to the one in desktop, right? So you're one click away from wherever I am. That's one of the benefits, as well as I can have the same login in QBO, using multiple Chrome users. But the other thing is I have this journal entry up, and by the way, the clock in the upper left is always going to be like your last 10 transactions of the type, so that's always great to know. But let's say I want to open a couple reports, but I don't want to lose a journal entry up, right? You're right-clicking the tab you're on, duplicate, and that's just going to bring up another journal entry. It's going to bring up whatever was in the prior tab, and now I can X out of here. And I can go to the briefcase accountant reports. That's one way to get into the Q reports. Or you can go to reports on the left, and I can open up, I can go to all reports. These are pretty obvious buckets, right? But business overview is akin to company financial. So you can find a lot of these reports under accountant reports. That's where the GL and trial balance will be as well. Okay. But let's say I have my balance sheet open, and I've want to customize and prepare present change prior period, and then I want to drill down on something I see that I don't really like, because you guys will see something that you don't really like, particularly the employee advance, which they weren't doing any at all last quarter. So, but I don't want to lose my summary, right? So again, you would right-click, or you can go to Briefcase New Window, does the same thing. But Firefox is like Control and then click on the reload icon, do the same thing. But I right-click, that's why the Chrome's super easy. Same with IE11. Right-click, duplicate, and it's going to create the same balance sheet I just had, including with the customizations. And now I can drill down and drill into, that particular, I think, what was it again? Employee advances, to see the transaction detail. So now I have 3 tabs open to beginning balance. Okay. And that probably came over from my conversion from desktop. Anyway, you can also left-click on the tab and move it, right? So now I have the detail report on the other monitor you no longer see, and then I have the summary report and the journal entry. Now the tabs will either be the name of the list or the transaction, or they'll be the name of the file. There's no way to change those, and it's not still that panel open window list you're used to toggle back and forth, but this is what you have. Again, you're in the same books my client is, benefit there, no file transfer, and then this is how I get multiple windows, right? It also, like I say, it also works with transactions. I can right-click on, pay bills, open a new tab, and then go pay some bills for the client. Now I have 4 tabs open in the same file. So that's how you're doing that, and just it's important to know when I pay a bill, which would impact this balance sheet here, right, for the payable, if you're then printing it out or exporting to Excel or something, you've got to reload the page to pick up transactional activity in the other tabs. It's not an auto-refresh scenario like you're used to with that default setting in desktop. Okay, we're working on the auto-refresh with the Windows app. If I go back to that product video site, there's this QBO app for Windows. You can go download this. And it works on the Mac and the Windows computer. This will have open windows, not an open window list, but file open, new window and stuff, but soon it'll have the auto refresh. Not yet, so maybe wait on downloading for a month or so, but the auto refresh I really liked in desktop, right? So when I'd enter a check, it would automatically update the P&L. I have another window. So online, it doesn't behave that way. It will soon in the Windows app, but in the online, when I'm in Chrome or whatever browser I'm using, in the web-based version of QuickBooks, the transactions, I'm on a transaction in the same file. I'm looking at the data of the same file in all these tabs, but they're not related or connected in a way that when I pay off this bill for Bar Louie, it's not going to update the AP amount on the balance sheet, right? I got to go reload the page. And I just say that and hammer on that to qualify, because I don't want you printing off or sending a report to your client and they're like, hey, nothing changed from last month, so what did you do? Right? And then you remember, oh yeah, I got it right. So you're going to reload the page. Cool. So that's multiple windows. Now, someone did ask, can you show us again how to set up another user? Yeah. Again, that's, for me, the best thing is isolating QBO away from other stuff I'm doing. I don't mean that in a bad way, but let's be fair. So you click on the user in the upper right. Yours probably says person 1. I think that's typically the, John, the default Chrome user or whatever. Click on it. Go to Manage People. Now, you don't have to create as many as I do. That's ridiculous. I just do a lot of other stuff, right? So create 1. Keep it simple. This is where you can also go into quote-unquote incognito mode. You probably heard of that sometimes to solve for issues. But anyway, click Manage People, and then click Add Person. Now, uncheck the desktop shortcut. You don't need more shortcuts on your desktop, believe me. All right, and then just choose something, and then just name it QBO, right? And then click Save. And then you'll just, so when to get set up today, right, I wanted to go into the client file. So what do? I click this, and I just click, another Chrome user, and now I could just click QBO and sign in, and then, now I'm in QBOA again, and I can go to a different file. So it's cool for multiple company files and being in with the same login, so QBO doesn't say, hey, you're already in here, right? There's that, but I just like the fact of moving my QBO work somewhere where it's totally on its own, away from other stuff I'm doing that's non-QBO related. Anyway, enough on that, but thanks for the question. That's how you do it. And by the way, on that site, product video site, if you go into QBO and QBOA, now I know it's not the easiest site to find stuff. Not really a web designer, right? Just do the show. But you can do like Control F, and I usually type in whatever I want. Browser, see, browser best practices. All that stuff I'm showing you, my colleague Valerie Heckman, for 9 minutes, she'll show you all these cool tips and tricks, right? It's a great video, and it's something you can share with your clients too. Okay. And B, client file at the same time. Totally. I totally agree. So that's a benefit, and then again, isolate QBO. And then you have your bookmark bar, right? I mean, you guys might not need that. Honestly, I don't use it much, but it's important for clients that are moving from like 2012 Pro, and they're just like, whoa, where am I, right? So they don't really know the gear icon yet. It has like reconcile or one way to get there, or their products and service list, which you can also get from sales, or, you know, memorize transactions, right? Or inviting you, or accountant settings, right? A lot of good preferences. So stuff that you or they go to every day in QBO, regardless of the file, that's what you want to save to your bookmarks bar. Okay. Now, something I forgot, and then we'll dive into bank feeds. The briefcase and report tools. Now, this is the old accountant home for those that used QBOA 1 and QBOA 2, and now we have, you know, this current version of QuickBooks Online Accountant. You probably recognize this, right? For those of you who've been using QBOA for, you know, over 2 years. Now, I can set the default date range, right? So that, you know, I'm looking at last quarter, but I could do this year to date and accrual basis, right? So that any report, when I go back to reports, I might as well go reports now, you know, and I go back to the profit and loss, it should, I shouldn't say any report. Hold on. The company financial summary reports will inherit the report tool's default date range and basis setting. Detail reports do not, though. Right? They're just going to still be, the default is this month to date. So, but this one, you know, P&L, balance sheet, trial balance, and a few others will inherit that report tool default. So, and so would the batch classify, which we're going to go to next. But this year to date, right, accrual basis, and so this is what I'm looking at. And then, you know, here's where you compare periods, percent change, et cetera, and then maybe previous year percent change. So you have the report the way you want it. You can customize further, as you all are probably doing reporting more than me. Hopefully you are. But, you know, summary reports, there's only so many columns you can add in total by or group by. Detail reports, there's way more that you can do. And then filter, right, you can filter by some stuff as well. Right. So once you have it the way you want it, save it, memorize it, save your customizations. And I'll do this 10, 25, 17. And you can add it to a group or not. It's up to you. But the reason why I like adding it to a group is because you can schedule these groups, this group of reports, whether it's 1 or 5, to automatically be sent from QBO. And you can share it with people who have the designation and permission, so the all company admin or master admin for this, obviously, or the firm only. You can create reports just for staff. It might be cool, firm only. So when they come in, they'll see it, and the client won't. So when I click Save, that's going to save it. And when I go to Reports, you have My Custom Reports. This, as you know, is your memorized report list. And I have my key business reports. I can edit the schedule to be automatically sent to, maybe I'm doing outsourced bookkeeping and this person I don't want in the file at all for obvious reasons. So, but he definitely wants to see these reports. Or create some operational reports for them and some detail-oriented reports, or, you know, recently automatically created transactions, sales for the week, whatever. Create a group of reports that go to these people that don't have access to the file, and they'll get it in their email. It's not encrypted, right? It's going to be an attachment, PDF, although I think you can designate it as Excel. Probably doing a PDF is my guess. So there's that. I just want to mention that on reporting. Again, detail reports. If I go to, accountant reports, transaction detail by account. Also, if you're not sure where a report is, use the search field up here in the upper right. If you left click on it, not only does it show you the last 10 transactions or 15 that you have, customers calling you or emailing you, hey, I just did a sales receipt, but it's totally bogus. What do I do? You'll find it under here. Log into their file, go to search. It'll be right here. Go right into it. Fastest way to find it. But if you don't know where a report is, just start typing. He said something. Oh, there's a transaction detail report in QBO. Sweet. So You might not know it's under accountant reports. You find it that way. It'll bring you there. I love the search field for finding stuff. But this is the one I like to show because I know most of our financial reports default with amount and balance instead of debit credit, and you want to see debit credit. So group by, you can do a whole lot more with detail-oriented reports. But here's where I could turn amount and balance off, and even memo description, and maybe the split too. I don't know, maybe you guys like the split. And then just do debit and then credit. Now it's not a default, but now I can save the customization and just do firm only, right? Do that with your P&L detail. That'd be fun. All right, so enough about reports. There is one other thing, but we probably won't have time because I want to dive into how do you get the data in the best way? And it's really bank feeds and rules, right? Got 13 minutes left because I know you guys have other things to do. I don't want to keep you. And again, thanks for coming today. But you do have management reports. If you want to create a report package, we give you 2 templates, expanded company financials and basic company financials. You can just create a package with logo or not, and cover letter, table of contents, etc. And we're coming up into the season where you're putting the default SARS 21 at the bottom of every report page, right? Instead of it just showing up on the last page of the report, you need it on every page. So if you click Advanced, this is where you do this default footer for every report page. And if that's too fast, don't worry. When you're coming up to that and you're like, hey, wait a minute, how do I get email Teresa? How do you put the default again? And we'll make sure you get a screenshot or something, right? So leverage your account manager, and we support that team, whoever invited you here today when you get that SARS question. Anyway, you can build these packages that you're going to go to Word doc or PDF, you know, and include whatever reports you want in them. Right? Even customized reports that you've spent a lot of time customizing, these are the reports you want to go out in a package. Right? So I just like to mention management reports. It's there. We have a video on it on our video site. But really for me, banking. How are we getting the data in so that you can do these reports? Right? And we'll focus on the checking account today. Well, I have an Amex and I have a checking account. Maybe we'll look at both. But you'll see that I do have some rules. I have some stuff that's shaded green or tagged green. Because within each card, there's 3 tabs. You're probably already working with bank feeds, but just for those, let's align for those that aren't. For review, these are the transactions that are not yet accepted. Why do we get that language on the QBO dashboard? You have 180 unaccepted transactions. You're like, what does that mean? And that's a really good question, by the way. What does that mean? This accept selected, right? You're accepting the match or the addition to the register. We are going to match to stuff already in the register. I would suggest to the client that if it's not super urgent to get the data in, why not just wait for the feed and just add it to the register? I know that's not always the best. You can't always do that. You know, they got to enter a check or something or whatever. But if it's a credit card expense and they're at Lowe's or Home Depot and they take a picture on their phone, which I'm hoping I can be able to show you at the end for those that want to hang around. And I'll show you how it matches to the bank feed, or in this case, it's an Amex feed. So that no data entry, right? I'm just doing it on the phone, and then, well, I guess I'm entering data on the phone, but it's just going right into QBO. It's a great tool because I know your clients have a smartphone and a credit card, so they all have that in common at least. So anyway, the bank feed's key. For review in QuickBooks and excluded. This is where the batch functionality really is outside of recurring transactions, you know, within QBO. Because I can batch add, I can batch modify, batch exclude if something's bogus. But within the for review, I have all are recognized. So right now, because I've created rules, because I'm looking at the consistent purchases across a couple, 3 weeks or a couple months that I'm working on this file, maybe you only touch the file once a month and you got like 200 transactions to go through or whatever. You'll start seeing stuff, well, I should create a rule for this. Now, QBO is going to default a rule, like Starbucks. I don't have to create a rule for Starbucks. Every time something from Starbucks comes, it's going to the 6240 account. Right? But I do create rules for stuff that, you know, I want to split or have auto data entry, right? And you'll look at this. You'll look at stuff, and I'll be like, hey, I should probably create a rule for this. Now, where do you go to do rules? You can click Bank Rules up here, or the drop-down arrow, Manage Rules. Either way, it's taking you to the rule list. And by the way, you can export rules and import them into a client on QBO, another one you have that is similar industry, and thus they have the same vendors for the most part. So you don't have to reinvent the wheel. That's always new. I always like that one. But I have rules I've created for several different reasons. Like we'll go to the Delta one for travel. And it's basically, you name the rules for money out for any of the following criteria. When the description, which is typically the payee, contains Delta, or the bank text, the bank detail, and a lot of times that's like, all caps and weird numbers, so just put like the first 4 letters in. But this has to match exactly what you're seeing in the bank detail description field, or else the rule won't be applied. If this event meets any one of these conditions, it's going to create an expense, or a check, or a transfer. Delta Airlines, travel, conferences, I could even do a department or a default memo. Now, again, if I was to just work Delta, the transaction on the feed itself, QBO will remember that for next time, so I don't really need a rule for it unless I want to do like, this is great for fixed assets versus expenses. You're going to Home Depot and like if the amount's greater than $500 and really it's going to this account. Or I think you use it for loans versus expenses. Going to this current liability because the amount is this. So you can do that for the amount as well. So again, back to the rule, I have amount, right? And it might be like greater than, and then you can route it. This is like, rules are for routing things when you really need to be particular about the account you want it to go to, the payee, etc. QBO will want to do it on its own, but I find this good for sometimes revenue, but mostly on the purchase side. And then this split across class and category. And then finally, this automatically add to my books, and then we'll go look at the questions and then the mobile app, because there's a lot of questions. So now, again, we don't default this because once your client figures out how to make rules, that might not be like sunshine for you, right? So though you can batch undo, right, a lot of garbage in the file. I don't mean that in a bad way. We're just having fun, right? So they're not focused on doing this. You guys are. But I firmly believe that you're the ones creating the rules, because that's always going to be the best practice and the best outcome, is you'll probably agree with me. So automatically add to books, that's stuff that does not need to be reviewed. Right? You're just, as soon as the rule's applied, it'll put it right in the register. So only do it when you really want to do it. But if something happens, just so you know, when I go back to banking, in QuickBooks, the In QuickBooks tab, right? We were working the For Review tab, right? Rules, matching, stuff like that. In QuickBooks, right? This is stuff in the register. And so you can, if these fees were totally personal and they shouldn't be in the business file, or all these withdrawals. By the way, if you hold down, like if you highlight something and do like a shift click, it's going to click all of them. I could go undo, and it's going to pull them out of the register, so I don't really have to use the register at all unless I want to. I can like go back to our navigation tip, right? Right click and duplicate. Drill in on Amex or checking, I think I'm on here. But it puts it back in for review for me to work. Or I can go then edit the rule because it was wrong, or change the account or something like that. Or if this really is personal and I don't want it in there, I can then what? Exclude it. And that deletes it out. And then I can go to the excluded tab. And then I can check it off and delete. Gets it totally out of there, right? So for review is limbo. This is the unaccepted transactions, waiting stuff to go to the register. In QuickBooks is that, and you can batch undo and then exclude. But the other thing I like is, this might be wrong, the ATM withdrawals. I can click batch, modify selected. Oh, I'm sorry, they're already there. This would be stuff that doesn't have anything tagged. Yeah, like say these check numbers are all for the same person. And checks are tough, right, because they don't come in with payee. But modify selected, I can modify, 20, 200 transactions if I check them off, because they all have the same payee, category, class, and department, Department meaning location, right? I just call it department, so location tracking. So the batch functionality is really in here. Let me see, and again, thanks you guys for your patience. Let me look at some questions that might. No, QBO, John asked about Loan Manager. It does not have Loan Manager like desktop. I don't know of any plans to put that in there. But you might check apps.com for that. Let's see here. I'll look for answer questions. Project tasks at the client level. Right, got it. I remember that one. I think we did that. Let me see. Recording later. Sorry, just when I come back in to go to a webinar, right, it like resets all the questions. So I just want to make sure I'm answering your guys' questions. Okay. Progress billing, right? We talked about that. Set up another Chrome user, got it. And then, so if you excluded personal items, how would the bank reconcile? Good point. So that, and again, Lori, that's a great question, and that's for you, because you might, I was always taught that you don't really want personal items in the business file, but I'm sure that's naivety on my part because you've working with clients forever. That's just part of it, right? So yeah, so you might keep them in there and just for the bank rec, or but if you are supposed to remove them and they would show on the statement, they won't be in QBO, and that's going to be the amount of the difference between the beginning balance and the cleared balance. So I'm sure you guys have run into that all the time. So again, I have to default to your expertise on whether you would leave personal in there or not. But yeah, true. I mean, that's your statement is going to be different for sure for that. But I just use it as an example. Maybe I should think of another one for excluding stuff, like excluding duplicates. That'd be great because we are going to match the things. You see this one, Amazon, right? This match came in because it was already in the register. Now, that's pretty much on bank feeds and really it for today. But if you have like 5 minutes, I'd love to show you the mobile app for this expense thing. So on the Amex card, and I already canned this up, I have this corner store purchase. Sorry for the example, it's kind of lame. I wish it was Home Depot or Lowe's, but I mean, why is that more impactful though, really? I'm just thinking to myself now. Anyways, I get this corner store transaction that came in on the Amex, right? Wait 2 or 3 days. That's my contention, is why are we entering data? I mean, I know you got to do invoices and receive payments and, well, I mean, you could use this too, and there's reasons for writing checks and entering bills and paying bills and stuff. But I mean, for your credit card expenses, why are you using the expense form in QBO? Why not just wait 2 or 3 days for the feed? That's my question. It's rhetorical, but feel free to weigh in because I'm sure there's scenarios where you need to. Anyway, I'm going to open up this app that allows me to hopefully broadcast the phone. So if you guys need to leave, go. If you want to see the mobile app and an expense where I'm going to take a picture and creates a transaction and matches to the credit card feed, hopefully this will work. This app usually works, but sometimes, it doesn't. And I'm going to use the QuickBooks mobile app, which is free to anybody that has a login, right? So it's trying to connect to the phone. Hopefully it will, but I'm going to click done. Okay, cool. Yeah. So I'm going to show on full screen, and you guys should be able to see my app now, right? I don't know if you've ever even seen the mobile app before. But this is how this works. It doesn't have all the functionality. If I click on the 3 lines, it just shows you what it has. Like I can see the products and services. I mean, just think of your client. I can see a customer address and stuff, vendors, banking. I can do bank feeds, see the chart of accounts. And then it supports these transaction types: expense estimate, invoice payment, sales receipt, bank deposits. And then I have a couple reports and settings, right? But I'm going to go into expenses because there's a camera icon, as you can see, right? And I'm going to this is going to be for 472 for that corner store. Whoops. And it's not OCR. There are apps that do that. It's going to be credit. I use the Amex. Who did I pay? We'll just say this was like 7-Eleven. And then you can do some class tracking. What kind of expense is it? And this is where I search through the chart of accounts. So I could see someone doing it like in the car after something, meals local, and then you take a picture of the actual receipt, right? Gives you a little thumbs up when it's pretty good. I'm going to use the photo. Well, not a very good photo. I would use it again. But anyway, this is what it'll look like with the receipt attached because it's going to have the doc attached. Oh, and the date. I think this is October 22nd, right? Yeah, I want to match it. It's easier when it matches with the date, but as long as with a few days, it should be fine. So typically, I would have done this like on the 18th, right, when it happened, and then 22nd, I saw the feed. But hopefully, this will be enough. When I click Save, it's saving, right? And now, you can add customers that way, vendors, that kind of stuff. Now, when I go back into QBO, let's see, I go to the dashboard. I got to refresh it, right? Now, remember that search trick, right? You left-click in the search field, and then I have the expense, and there it is. So the phone app created the expense for me, right? I did it on the phone. You guys saw it. Hopefully you saw that. When you go to banking, and it's the Amex, there's going to be a match right here. See the corner store? It matched to this expense, you know? And then when I go to the expense, because anything blue you can drill down to, this will bring up the credit card expense transaction. And then, you know, the receipt's attached, the one I just took a picture of. Now, I should have taken a better picture. So I didn't have the boundaries at the bottom were too high. But you know, for dock attach, it's like nowadays, if you don't have attachment, it never happens. So now I have that, and it matches with the feed. Now, if you have a client that has tons of vendors, and it's really hard to manage, that's where you look at HubDoc, you know, because they pull down information with receipts attached and documents attached from a bunch of different vendor sources that will still match to your credit card or checking account feed. So I like the mobile app. I think it's something exciting for clients if they're not really sure, and you know they got a phone, so they got a credit card too. So a lot of this transaction activity they can do when they're out and about, and it comes in with the receipt, and it will match the feed as it comes down later on. You know what I mean?